Hi, welcome. My name is Emily. I am the Associate Gallerist for Silo118. We're in booth 218, and I'm very pleased to introduce Enrique Avilez. He's one of our sculptors, and we'll be talking about his life and work today.
Hello, good morning everybody. I am very happy to be alive and be here this morning, sharing my experiences in life and art, and also my dreams, because we need to have dreams all the time. If not, we can create our own stories and like goals where we want to get to them. That's pretty much my dream. This sculpture right here, the very beginning, it was difficult because I've been doing very much all my life female body, which is to me like the landscape. Everything it is related to the river, to the mountains, so it is very female. But the male body, first of all, is my own house, and after that, it's always like fitting, is very much. Stronger and not that beautiful to have the female body, but by request by my friend Bonnie, who owns Silo's gallery, I did this one, and it was a long, many steps to get there. So would you please start the writing about that, because she was pushing too much on it, it's like she really wanted it, and it's there now.
And we've got this piece in our booth if you would like to see it in person. I'm going to read a little bit of text that was written by Enrique having to do with this topic. Today I woke up recognizing my own body reactivating the joints of my arms. In the distance, the roosters sing, announcing a new day. The night sighs of the sea are still heard and gradually replaced by the sounds of engines and public transport in the rush of the day that begins. Within me, a feeling of satisfaction and will. When the fetus is cut, the umbilical cord's veins and arteries that arrive from the mother over time heal and become ligaments inside the new body. These ligaments strengthen the will of the individual. Henceforth, the placenta is the world and balance of giving and receiving. Such is life. From the center of the navel, the will extends to what we want. What in the prenatal state is so easy for the adult individual has infinite distractions. My experience in making a female body is greater compared to the male body. The female body is always more beautiful, flexible, as the landscape is a return to life, to the belly, to the root, while the male body is my home, requires introspection. I recently found myself doing a male torso at the suggestion of my friend Bonnie. My family went on vacation, and I decided to go into that state of introspection to achieve the sculpture. Contrary to the fact that many friends and neighbors have visited me in recent times, I decided to cut off communication with the world. I stayed in my workshop without answering the phone or social networks, so then my mother was worried because she called me many times without an answer. She decided to travel to stay a few days with me. Those were days of memories and intimate questions, the torso still in process, interrupted many times with unknown angles as performed by another person. Finally, my mother went calmly back to her home and my family returned from vacation. I then understood that I was very worried about maintaining order and the cleanliness of things. I managed to abandon my thoughts. I lost sense of time. I fell into a trance that I left at dawn. I was surprised to see so many tools thrown on the floor and many pieces of mud everywhere. My back hurt. The night was cold, and the sculpture was erect in front of me, strong and newly born of spontaneity.
Very well said. Thank you very much.
Very well said.
I love it. Everything was made in Spanish, of course, because I have fluently speaking in my own language. This is the thing. I appreciate this moment, this particular moment, to share with you my ideas on life and art. And in this case, this is Freedom, is the title of the sculpture. and it is made with adobe, which is a blending of different types of clay, earth, grass, roots, shells, all organic materials. And that particular media to me is freedom because I can play with something that it is really alive, literally alive. And these girls are, again, homage to Mother Earth, because I believe that if uh, people from another planet, in the case that we have people surrounding us, if they want to know how we are, it is enough to come and understand how is the body of one single woman. Because inside her, there is like the ocean life, is water. So life is eternal, it comes back again and again. And all the beauty of the planet, it is in the female body. So the female body it is very much like the fractal of the universe that we know. And this man right here, there's many people who ask me if that is Christ. And I am not a religious person, and I don't really believe in politics also. So that's why this is the Doctor Warrior, which means that he is spiritual. And it is, of course, made of the natural elements of the planet. So it means that we can be healed by our own surrounding, just being aware about who we are. Yes.
And I've got a little bit of text about the Adobe Works from Enrique. I'll read that now. I love the sound of the sea. Each wave brings different voices. Foamy waves come from far away. The water knows so much, our mother. I love nature. It is wonderful to be part of this powerful and mysterious channel. Now with science, we can understand to a great degree the reason for human emotions and feelings. From nerve impulses to the potency of hormonal chemistry. Thanks to cortisol, adrenaline, oxytocin, and other substances that the body produces, we can mix love, fury, and all expressions. Even so, there is a veiled mystery. Where does the electricity of the neurons go when the body dies? Does it return to the water? Does it live eternally in different forms of energy? Or is it the essence that maintains harmony? I do not know. When I have doubts, I allow myself to be guided by the truth. The greatest truth I know is beauty. Beauty is in the foam of the sea's waves, in the constant sound of the water meeting the rocks and the sand. Beauty is in the sunlight, in the confident walk of a girl, in the flight of the birds, the color of the flowers, the complexity of the roots and the corals. Beauty exists in the form of an insect and also in the self-awareness of beauty itself, the beauty of life and all its manifestations. This is my principle, my philosophy for making art. A piece of rusty sheet metal next to a sea snail, computer waste, the bone of an unknown animal that I found in the desert, and dried fibers of cactus mixed with mud and sand from the streams. All these elements share their beauty. Together they dance, spin, and something is shared in front of my astonished eyes. My heart beats. I don't know how many times I have done it. The elements change their meaning without losing their beauty. A snail is a heart, a seed is an eye, a coral is the hair of a sculpture of raw mud. I like to sun-dry the sculptures and allow the organic matter to preserve its life and its beauty.
Yes, about beauty, there are many things we don't know, but for sure we understand beauty unconsciously. Like the sunshine, that's beauty. Newborn is beauty. So beauty, it is the only truth. But another thing that we have created in this planet, there is only two big creations by humans, only two. You can look at it, think about it, make research. There's two things. And those are art and business. It didn't exist before humans, only after humans. this wonderful event that it is happening here in the convention center is about that, art and business. It's a very eclectic combination. It is sophisticated. It is the best we can do as humans. I'm happy to be here. And inside all this concept is also beauty. And that's what I am touched by. This is Beethoven. It's a portrait of this wonderful artist, and I think he used to look like that at some moment. This is our friend right here. He's visiting us. The corals on top. I get those from the fisherman village that I have in front of my house in Baja California, Mexico, in Rosarito. There is a place called Popotle. And all the fishermen, they know me. They go there to my studio sometimes with all these beautiful manifestations of the ocean. I think I am a blessed man.
You were very lucky.
Okay. The first step we talked about was doing things that I really like as an artist. Sometimes I need to make commissions. Sometimes I need to make interpretations of other people's life. And also I encourage myself to understand the behavior of techniques that are very complicated, like bronze or glass. To do glass, there is too much knowledge that you need to achieve in order to make something beautiful, something artistic. It's a long process. Also, to do bronze. Bronze is one of the most important mediums because you can put it outside in the rain, you can put it under the water in the ocean for centuries. Then you go back at it and it is there, the same beauty as in the very beginning. Okay, that's the beauty of the metal, the bronze.
And this piece has glass and bronze, correct?
Correct, yes. But the amber color is glass, and it was a long process. It took me around 6 months to finish it from beginning to end. This is a beautiful maquette. It is about 3 feet high, and I built that to do a 36 feet high sculpture in the Cultural Center in Ensenada. It was done on 2007, and once I have them all, yeah, that's the big sculpture finish. But the other one, the little maquette, which is not that little, it is in our booth in exhibit.
This one's at the booth if you want to go by and see it.
Yes. Yeah, but I'm very happy to share this with you because it was a long process. I hired different girls and women in order to get the real expression of a strong woman. And the sculpture itself is named Madre Baja California, which is an homage to the peninsula of Baja California.
Okay, and we've got a little bit of text from Enrique having to do with the bronze work. I also like to make bronze sculptures. Although the metal is cold, I like the process of sustained will. For example, a figure in its first stage of psychological interpretation and creative aesthetic activity is done in clay. After that, the figure is captured in silicone in order to make the same form in wax, and finally, the metal version. In total, it can take months or years. That is what I mean by sustained will. Wanting the same thing for a long time is an exercise in tenacity, perseverance, obsession, and, in the best of cases, creating art for future generations. The opportunity to plant messages for the future with everything that the ego, intelligence, beauty, and mystery means.
It's true. And I have some clients that ask for bronze portraits, which is a big challenge. Sometimes clients don't know the process of doing the technique of the metal, which they don't need to know. But there is sometimes people who ask me portraits And they don't really want a portrait, they want a representation of something. It can be the law, it can be history. There are many things that clients don't really know how to express. Like, for example, one time I have a client who wants me to do a portrait of his girlfriend. He gave me hundreds of photos of the girl. That was a young girl, 25 years old, and he wanted me to do a new portrait. So I called him after 2 months of work with the original model. Once he was there, he was not happy. Something was wrong with one finger. I said, okay, please come back in 15 days. So I called him again, and again, he was complaining a little bit about the anatomy. And I said, okay, the anatomy is okay, everything is fine with that. So I asked him a few days more, concentrate just only on the sculpture till I understand that all the photos I have, they were not naked. And I've never met a girl in physics. So I understand how important that baby was for him. And he was not asking me to do anything anatomically perfect. He was asking me to do something that represents the love he feels for her. Suddenly, it was in the middle of the night. I said, okay, I got it. So I went deeper to understanding all that beauty behind the photos, and I become more like a shaman or more like psychological interpretation of whatever was there. So I didn't sleep that night, all night long. I was awake doing just little things in that face. Then I called him next day when he came to my studio. He came out talking. He was just shocked, and tears came out of his eyes. Finally captured that specific need that he has. So, like I said, to do mechanical work sometimes it is easy, but to go spiritually deep into understanding other people's need, it is something very, very special that goes far beyond. Okay, in the right of this image, there is a big mural that was commissioned to do in a shopping center in Ensenada Baja. And it's 30 feet high by 27 long, and it comes out of the wall about 3 feet. It is made of different materials from clay, metal, cement, and it is about the history of the pipe pies. The pipe pies are the original people who live in Baja California. They disappeared now. They are, it's almost nothing left. But it was my homage to these wonderful people who exist here centuries ago, and it's called the origin of life. Yeah, and I have those two photos together because they represent my two big passions in technique. The one is Adobe, this one right here, which is a blending of grass, roots, and different types of clay that I collect from the valley, the wine valley in Mexico. In Baja California, we have beautiful clay up in the mountains and also in the rivers. Once I get those different materials and blend them, also fiber from the cactus from the desert, I can get my adobe, my sun-dried clay. And in the other hand, I love to work, like I said, with bronze, because bronze is very sophisticated, it's very complicated. You really need to have that willpower for months to see the final result, because you need to make it 3 times, centrifugal 3 times before you get to the bronze. And to do this kind of work, it is a lot of freedom. It allows you to play a lot all the time. Yes. Well, that's another commission. That man is the owner of a very famous restaurant in Ensenada, Mexico. And his wife commissioned me to do a portrait of him that I just finished about 1 month ago. So since it is very recent, I decided to bring it for you. Oh, that's the lady I was talking about, the portrait, the very psychological portrait of the law. Yeah, there she is. And my client was very, very happy. He's very happy. Yeah, again, that's the sculptor, Freedom, and it's hanging there in a big Latin American art fest that happened in San Diego last year. I love the photo as well, so decided to bring it to share with you. Another very important part of my life is family. I love my family, I love my wife, I love my boys. And, I think without them, life would be just very different, but I don't think it would be better. So I think this is, yeah, my big blessing, my big blessing. To have family, it is something that gets me hooked into society. I become a father. I but I try to be a good neighbor also. And, yes, but to be the artist and also father, it is very complicated. But it has been just a great journey because also my boys, they work in my studio. They never do it for free. They have to understand how society is being built, about business, about to be unemployed, and many things that they learn little by little in my studio without being pushed to do something they don't want. Baruch now he's going to college, the oldest one, and Philip is going to high school. Yes, they are my family.
At one stage in my childhood, I discovered that I had two beliefs that were part of my way of thinking. The first is that I believed that everything that happened to me alone. That everything happened because I thought about it. I thought about my parents, my friends, and everything, even dreams. It made sense that I was the center of everything, as if everything was my idea of a game, including time, day, and night. It was amazing when I began to understand that I was part of other people's lives, and that things in my environment, although they were very familiar, were the design of other people, such as my plastic toys and my dad's car. Then I began to live another stage of touching everything in my surroundings: the living room lamp, the stones of the landscape, the trees. My mother's sister was very surprised that I insisted on touching her legs. Little by little, I built an alphabet of textures: the skin of a pineapple, the skin of a stone, the skin of a dog, the skin of a car, the skin itself, the different skins of the earth.
Yes, when I was a little kid, I think I had this fortune that my parents had no TV at home. Not because they cannot buy it, it was because they didn't like it. And I had no choice those days. I was not interested in a TV. Not to talk about internet, Facebook, all those things, right? But without a TV at home, my life in Baja California, next to the ocean, was wonderful. I can play with everything that I have in my surrounding. That can be a cactus, that can be my toys, of course. That would be also everything that you can imagine. A rock, an insect, flower, the water of the ocean. I used to go there and imagine many things. But even now, I like to remember those things and also to touch everything around, everything, because I needed to make the real sensation of I was alive, or that was not my imagination, okay? After time, I think that was my most important training to become a sculptor. That's my dog and my rabbit. They are very important in my life. My dog because he takes me to walk, and my rabbit because he's always like acting like the boss. So I feel like I have somebody who tell me what to do.
And what is the name of your studio, Enrique?
The White Rabbit.
And there's a little bit of a story behind the White Rabbit, correct? And how you ended up here today in Palm Springs with us?
Yes, you want to hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, my studio is called the White Rabbit, and it's not open to public all the time, but there is a sign that we put, we set the sign because we have the White Rabbit. My wife loved that rabbit, and I really feel more because of her, because I want her to feel like everything is synchronized and harmonized and well. But Bonnie Robinstein, she was walking by my studio and I was cutting some piece of wood, and she says, can we go into your studio? I said, well, I'm not open today because I have a neighbor next door who owns a gallery. Is where I display my art. In front of Fox Studios in Baja is where they filmed the Titanic. So he sells my art, he takes a commission, so it's a good thing. And my studio, like I said, sometimes I open it when I do receptions for other artists, for myself. Anyways, but Bonnie don't look like the normal tourist, she looked very special. And I said, please welcome me, you look different and special. I never met her before. She walked into the place. I just asked her not to touch anything or stuff like that because I have many things in process. But she was very happy, and she bought that day 2 of my sculptures. And when she was leaving, she gave me her card. She says I have an art gallery based in LA, and let's be in touch. So it's how.
And the rest is history.
Yes, and here we are now. This is a wonderful opportunity to be here. And let's see, I think this is the very beginning of something beautiful and extraordinary. That's my son. And this is the story I want you to tell, because if I tell you, I don't want to cry right now.
When I grew up, I decided to make art my lifestyle. I also assumed the responsibility of understanding the behavior of materials and the use of tools. The creative part usually happens in a trance state. It is something subconscious. Although I have been an art teacher and knowledge can be transmitted, there is something that has no words. Just as a stone does not articulate words, but its beauty impacts us even in memory. The kiss of the muse, that state of inspiration that has to do with hormonal matters, such as love or other wonders, became my main reason for life. Until about 10 years ago, when I was about to die, drowned by turbulent currents in the sea. The sea literally pulled me to its belly, and when I swam towards the shore, the current dragged me deep. After struggling for a long time, I was exhausted, and I thought, well, this is how it feels. This is the end. I could see my family on the beach when my son Baruch, who was 12 years old, jumped into the water to save me. Immediately, the sea swallowed him. He emerged and sank again. Then I realized that I was stable and he was at the center of the current. I went for him. I got him out of the current. He hugged me and kept me from swimming. Finally, he released me and said, "Dad, I don't want to die." I told him, "You will survive. Keep floating, keep floating." I pulled him to the shore. That night, in the calm of my thoughts, I understood that I had survived thanks to him. I had been reborn in the sea. With that in mind, I knew that my life deserved changes in my goals and priorities. I decided that my family would be the most important thing. Before being a good artist, I would be a good father. That changed my life. Baruch currently studies mechanical engineering at university. Art is better with love. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. If we have any questions, this is a great time to ask them. If anyone has anything.
Were you born in, what did you say, Ensenada?
Ensenada, yes.
You're born and raised?
No, I was born there and I was living there until I was 5. Then we moved to Guadalajara. My parents took me to see the big paintings of in there used to be an orfanato.
Orphanage.
Okay.
What was it called?
Hospicio Cabañas. And there is one of the most beautiful paintings that we can see from Jose Clemente Orozco, one of the biggest muralists in Mexico. We have Diego Rivera, Siqueiros, and Orozco. And the painting is so beautiful, so big, wonderful. It's painted inside the building. And to me, like I said, I was 5 years old. I was very impressed by the very top man that is called El Hombre en Llamas, is a man on fire. But I thought that it was a real person on fire, on the top. So I asked my parents if that was a real person, first of all. No, they told me that was a painter. Okay? And I said, who painted? I thought there were giants, big, tall people doing those things. And they told me that I was a normal person. That I would be an adult someday, would be a normal person. So in that moment, I asked my parents if I would be a painter when I grow up. They said yes. So I think those little things make a big difference when you have the parents that encourage you to do anything you want. So yeah. And after Guadalajara, we moved to Monterrey. And my father, he used to love to change cities, and he was a big entrepreneur. God bless him.
Other questions?
If I'm going to Ensenada this August in October, will I see that big, the murals, sculpture?
Yes, please go to CART, which is the Cultural Center for the Arts.
Okay.
And it is by Boulevard Costero, in front of the Cultural Center Riviera. That Riviera was built by Al Capone in the 1930s. And it's one of the buildings that are historic. Half of it was demolished, destroyed, but what it is now has been rebuilt. It's so beautiful. So in front of it is my sculpture.
It's been 20 years since I've been there, so I'm excited to go there for art and business.
Yes, and the cultural center I'm talking about was built in 2007, which is a year.
My last visit was 05.
Beautiful, yes.
I'm excited to go back.
Yes. And also the wine valley is so beautiful. You will get all the choices to get the best wines in the planet.
That's what I scheduled was wine for out there in Mexico, and we wanted to support the galleries. And your booth is?
We're in 218. Yeah, please come by and chat with us. That'd be great. Yeah. Well, I have a question or two, if we have a few more minutes. The first question has to do, I think it's right before this. Now, Enrique, this is a unique piece, right? There will never be another made of this.
No.
And why is that?
That's the maquette for the big sculpture. To do what I did a female body with clay, made of clay. And then I get the mold, silicone mold, and to get some resin inside and cut a slice 1 inch thick, so I can have that for the engineering process of doing the big large scale. Because I didn't have any 3D scanner nearby, so that was the best way to do it. Okay, but a year after, I decided to use a silicone mold and cast wax. And the wax was turned into bronze. But my studio was on fire, so everything was destroyed. The molds, any projects, tools, etc. So that mode, it does not exist anymore. Thanks again, we have this carton in bronze, which is now an exhibit in number 1 to 18. Yes.
So how did losing your studio and all of the work you had in progress and all of this stuff, how did that affect your trajectory as an artist or the way that you were thinking about things?
You know, I admire people who is very minimalist in their lives, how they keep just a few items and they're happy. But in my case, I have many things. Sometimes my wife pushes me to throw away most of it. You know, every 2 or 3 months I need to clean my studio or my garage. But yes, I think I don't really need anything that was disappeared. I think it was very spiritual because that put me in another mood of understanding that the most important thing in your life is the present moment. And for that, you just need a few things to read, to be happy. And, it was a big lesson, yes. Eventually, I get a lot of junk again in my studio, in my new studio. But the beauty of it is that I get a big lesson that we don't need much to be happy.
I've got another question for you, if you would like to answer. In an earlier conversation, Enrique, you said something that was very interesting to me, that everyone has some form of creative energy. Everyone has, I think you called it a spark. That everyone has some, a little bit of artist in them. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. First of all, I will go back to what I said at the beginning, that humans, we have created only 2 big things in this planet. One is art, the other one is business. So it's how this planet runs. Every civilization has a beautiful background in art and the way to market, the way to do business since ever until now. Okay. We all are artists since since we start walking, we play with everything is around us, which is so great, so wonderful. Then when we grow up, we make thousands, if not millions, of aesthetic decisions every day. The direction we are going, the kind of clothes we wear every day, the kind of colors for our car, for our house, for everything. And every person has a different taste. That's the beauty of this. I think we all are artists, and in an event like this one, today at the convention center, you can see how people behave and react differently in front of different types of art. So that's the beauty of it. Everybody has a different taste, and everybody is an artist. I believe that.
I have one more question to finish up here. So, Enrique, you've talked about, in a couple of our conversations, about the importance of dreams. And you told me, I think just this morning, that you remember almost all of your dreams, and you dream every night. And I get the sense that that's an important part of your life as an artist and your existence as an artist. Is that true?
Yes. But for some reason, I have 2 lives. One is this one, the one I share with you. When I wake up and I need to take care of my car, put some gasoline, get breakfast, etc. And my other life, I have another life where I dream and fly. Sometimes I am aware that I am dreaming, and I can move things, and I can disappear things, and I can make things happen. And most of the times I remember. But like I said, sometimes I am aware that I am sleeping. And I do art. I dream.
In your dreams, you're making art?
I dream doing art sometimes. But sometimes I am not consciousness that I am dreaming. So that's the beautiful part. Because then things happen out of my control. I think it would be nice to put these stories on paper. Would you help to translate them? I would be happy to share them because I don't want to go into many details and get lost in trying to get a nice lexicons or grammar or stuff like that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Enrique, and thanks to everyone for being here today and for listening to our stories. Please come visit us in booth 218. We're called Silo118, and we look forward to seeing you later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much.